Hey everyone, so this is my next update for Space Arcade. There's quite a lot that happened since the last one, so I might have to break this up into a couple of videos. Anyways, let's start. I kind of wanted this whole game to be modifiable, so from the ground up I'm going to make a mod manager, which I've done, and build the game by making a mod for the game, if that makes sense. So the first thing I did was create a mod manager, and so right now in this temporary main menu I have mod selection, and if I go here we can see that there's a mod called Space Arcade. That's the primary game, and that's how we'll be designing the game, is through this mod. But you can go and make a test mod, and so type that in and create mod, and you've created a mod. You can delete it and delete the mod. And what this does is inside of your, well, take a step back. Now there is a folder called GameData, which is where all the persistent game data lives. And inside this folder, there's mods. And when you create a mod, so if I write test mod and create it, over here it creates a folder for you. And inside of that folder, it creates some more folder structure for you. And the mods themselves are just JSON objects, so it's pretty simple. If you don't know what JSON is, it's JavaScript object notation. It's a form of writing objects in JavaScript, but it also is handy for creating files and serializing things to files and then reading them later or sending them over a network or something like that. And I think like Mongo database actually saves its stuff in JSON. Not sure, but anyways, so the mods are created as JSON, and most everything in the game is now written to as JSON. And I just got a header-only library for C++, and that's how I'm doing that. It's really trivial. Anyways, so the mods are serialized to JSON, and these folder structures are created for them. Now, if I close this out and go to GameData, and I'll manage the mod through the actual game. And clicking on this mod makes it your active mod. To make this mod is not deletable, and that's just a field in that JSON that you can go in and edit the actual JSON to change that. There's no like interface for that right here, because I figured most mods you want to be able to delete. But that's how I made this one not deletable. Anyways, so we can go check out the other thing I created, which is the model editor. It's maybe not the best name, but it's kind of like that projectile editor I made, but it's for models. And so some description here. We're currently working in the Space Arcade mod. So anything we create here will be under this mod. And if we go back to that folder structure, well, let me first show you. Here is an actual model that I've pre-configured. So it's the fighter ship. And you can create another one. You have to provide the path to its 3D model. And so if we go look at, actually the folder first, if we go look at the mods and go in here, we go to assets, there's a folder called 3D models, and I put the models I plan to use in here, and the actual model file is this sgcarrier.object, that's for the big ship, and sgcarrier or fighter.object is for the little ship. And so if you copy like this file path, which is relative to the mod, so this is where we need to look. So you have your mods, and then inside of the Space Arcade mod, we have the folder assets. And so we paste the mod path here, and we'll name it something like new fighter. And we can create the entity, and now we have this new fighter model created for us. And we can switch between these and configure them differently. And so to demo it, I'll show you on this guy. So what this does is it creates inside of your assets, it creates a SpawnConfig. It's just really could be called model config, but it's what I use to spawn. So the name conventions might change, but for now it's SpawnConfigs, and it created this new fighter JSON and some data in it. And after you configure it, it'll look more like this, which has got some shapes. But we'll see that in a sec. So I'm gonna close that out. What this does is allows you to configure collision shape for the separating axis theorem. This video is getting long, so I'll have to cut it after this, I think. But we can collapse this and go into collision, and we'll add a shape. I'll set it to don't know, like 3, 3. Oh, that's the actual model. So you can offset the model if you need to. But when you add a shape, if you click on the shape, then you get access to its transform. And so I'll put this one at like 3, 3, 3. And I can configure it to be either this or a capsule. And so these are shapes that you can feed into separating axis theorem to do collision tests. So you can have a cube, and then let's say on another model we had this shape. So the collision test can actually test between, is this cube and this cube colliding? That's what separating axis theorem does for us. And I can use it with a cube or this like what I call it, poly capsule. It's like a polygon. And these numbers here are signifying how many faces are. So 3F is 3 faces and 3 edges is 3 edges. And that's separating axis theorem related. If you want to know what all that means, I mean, this little drop down to kind of explain it, but I'm not going to do that in the video since we're running out of time. What you can do is, these are the kind of the fast ones. But I did have the system for loading in models, and so I have some custom shapes. You can use a wedge, which has 12 edges and 5 faces, or a pyramid. And so this is the wedge. So you can kind of see what that looks like. Or you can use this pyramid, which is, as you would imagine, kind of like a Egyptian pyramid. And you can rotate them and then place them on your model to kind of configure where you want collision to be on the model. And that way you have performant collision rather than using like every triangle in the model. So there's also some even slower shapes that are like spheres. These are really, really slow, so I wouldn't use these, but I had them around, so I decided to go ahead and add them. And there might be some special case where I need a sphere, and this would be perfect for it. So there's the icosphere, which is a bit faster, and then the very slow UV sphere. And these are models I created from Blender, so theoretically you can modify this if you know how to code and add your own shapes. But through the mod manager, these are what you get. And anyways, that is the way you configure a ship. And so in the next video, I'll show what I've done and using that with collision.